Hi, fifth graders. This is Eureka Math, Module 5, Lesson 10, and we just did the mid-module review. Good job. Most of you did a great job. Now we're moving back in. We're moving back into fractions and area. Okay, we've been doing volume, but now we're gonna just go back a little bit and rediscover area. Okay, so we're gonna find the area of rectangles. And that, of course, is, you know that area equals length times width, okay? So we're going to explore that a little bit. We might be using some tiling. So length times width, if we're looking for area and we know our length is 2 and our width is 3, right? We might be doing some tiling today. So width is 1, 2, 3. I'm actually going to label each of those 1, right? And all together, that's 3. And our length is 2. Then I can cut that in half, and then I have 1 and 1. Okay, do you remember this? And then the area of each of these smaller squares is, well, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1, 1, 1, 1. So the area here is 6, and I know that because inside I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, okay? And each of those squares has an area of 1, or 2 times 3. But we're going to use tiling because some of our problems are going to have fractions in them, and we're going to have to multiply fractions. So that's what tiling means. And then we're going to draw. Okay, so we have our drawings, and then fraction multiplication. Okay, so, all right, instead of me explaining everything to here on this first page, let's go to the Learn book and we'll go through it one by one. Today might be kind of a long video, so settle in. Write your name on the paper. Sketch the rectangles and your tiling. Write the dimensions and the units you counted in the blanks. Then use multiplication to confirm your area. Show your work. We will do rectangles A and B together. Okay, so have they given us A and B? I need to go down and see if there's a set here. Nothing there. Let me check back on this page just to make sure they haven't given us some numbers to use that I'm not seeing here. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so 3, 2, and 6. I'm sorry, 3 and 2, and 3 and 2 and a half. So there we go. So, which is exactly what I did on the first page. 2 and 3. And what did that other one say? 3 and 2 and a half. Okay. So here's our rectangular, and we know rectangle, sorry, it's getting late at night. And A, this is A, rectangle A, is how many units long? Well, it is 3 units long. There's my length, okay. And how many units wide? Well, there's my width, and that's 2. And the area is going to be 1, 2, I cut it in 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this one I'm going to cut it in 2, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 units squared. Do you see that squared? Super important. Rectangle B. Okay, so rectangle B, I'm going to give us 3 units long, okay? But instead of 2 units on the side, we're going to have 2 and a half. So here's 1, and there's 2. So here's 1, and then this top one is a half, okay? So if this is 1, 1, 1, the length here is 1 and the width here is 1. So the area of this cube, this square, is 1. This is 1 and this is 1, so that's 1. And that's the same for here and here and here and here. So I have 6 holes there. Now I have a half and a 1 here, so 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. And all three of these are the same. But what is my area? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 halves. 6 and 3 halves. Oops. But you know that 6 and 3 halves is the same as 7 and 1/2, because this one and this one together make a whole, right? So, how long is it? It is 3 units long. How wide is it? It's 2.5 units wide. And what is my area? Well, I just figured it out. 7.5 units squared. Okay, let's see if they gave us some more for C. Let's see. 5 times 1.5, okay. So here we've got length equals 5 and width equals 1.5. Okay, and this, so I could just fill this in, but I want to show you the long way here. So here's my length is 5 and my width is 1.5. So here is 1 and here's 1.5. And here is 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so each of those is 1. So what is my area of this square? Length times width is 1. 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 And then here I've got a half times 1, so that's a half, half, half. My cat just sneezed. Did you hear it? Half and half. Okay, so what is my area? Well, I've got 5 units long and 1.5 units wide. So my area is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that 2 of those is 1 and 2 of those is 1. And then I've got my half here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Okay. Look at that. 2 and 3 have the same area. Okay, let's do D. And I'm going to go back here to get some 2 and 1/3. Okay. 2 and 3/4, sorry. So length equals 2 and width equals 1 and 3/4. Should I read that correctly? Yes, 1 and 3/4. Okay, so if my length is 2 and my width is 1 and 3/4, I've got 1 and 1, that's 2. And then I've got 1. I wish those were a little more square. I'm going to try and draw them a little bit better. I went a little too long on that. Okay, 1 and 3/4 and 2. That's better. So there's my 2, 1 and 1. And here's my 1, and that's 3/4. So let's find the area of each of these little squares here. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And then 3/4 times 1 is 3/4. And 3/4 times 1 is 3/4. So now I've got 1, 2 plus 3/4 plus 3/4. Okay. And if I add that together, I have 6/4 because they have the same denominator. And that would equal 1 and 2/4. So now I've got 3 and 2/4, which equals 3.5. Okay. So I have 2 units long and 1 and 3/4 units wide, and my area is 3 and 1/2 units. Okay. And rectangle E, they've got a 5 and 3/4. Okay. Here my length is going to be 5 and my width is going to be 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here, this is only 3/4. So 3/4 times 1 is 3/4. Each of these little boxes is going to be worth 3/4. If I add those all together, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15/4, which equals 4 goes into 15 3 times with 3 left over. Okay, so, and I can break that up even more if you'd like me to. Let's use a different color just so you can see what I'm talking about. If each of these is 3/4, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I need 4 of them to create a hole. Here's a hole. Here is a hole. Here, wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a hole. And what I'm left with is 3/4. Okay, 1, 1, 1, and 3/4. So that's 3 3/4. So units long is 5, units wide is 3/4, and my area then is 3 3/4 units squared. Don't forget the units squared. Okay, so we just did 5 examples, and we sketched the rectangles and we used tiling, so we created tiles. We wrote the dimensions, okay? We used multiplication to confirm the area. Well, let's do that really quickly. 2 times 3 equals 6. Yep, that's what we got. 3 times 2.5 would be 6 3/2. Which equals 7 1/2. Okay, let's double check the multiplication here. 5 times 1.5 would equal 5 times 1, and 5 times 1/2 would be 5 5/2, which equals 7 1/2. Okay, that's the same. Now we've got 2 times 1 3/4. So that would be 2 plus 6/4, which would equal 3 2/4, which also equals 3 1/2. Okay, that one's correct. And the last one, 5 times 3/4 equals 15/4 equals 3 3/4. Okay, so let's double check our directions. We drew the dimensions, we wrote the dimensions, we drew the rectangles, we multiplied to check our work, we showed all of our work, and we did A and B together, but we really did all of them together because you didn't have the dimensions. And let's go on to number 6. Okay, this isn't so bad. The rectangle to the right is composed of squares that measure 2 1/4 inches on each side. Okay, so each of these squares is 2 1/4. 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. And then here we've got 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4, and 2 1/4. Okay. The rectangle on the right is composed of squares. They're squares, so you know that they're the same on the side, and the length and the width are the same. They measure 2 1/4 inches on each side. What is the area of the whole thing in square inches? So we're going to take all of this and all of this. We're going to multiply them by each other, okay? So we have a couple different ways we could do that. First of all, let's do the first way. And if each of these is 2 1/4, so 2 1/4 times 2 1/4 would be 2 times 2, 2 times 1/4, would be 4 plus 2/4. And then I'm going to take this quarter and multiply it times 2, which would be 2/4 plus, and 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16. Let me just check my work there. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1/4 is 2/4. Okay, now I just have to add, but I need to turn those into sixteenths. So that would be 4 plus 8/16 plus 8/16 plus 1/16 equals, well, that's 16 and 16ths, which would just be 1, 5 and 1/16. So each of these would be 5 and 1/16. So if they're each 5 and 1/16, I'll write them all in for you. Because we just said that's what the area is of this times this, right? 5 and 1/16. 16, 5, 1/16. Okay, so now we know what the area of each of the smaller ones is. All we have to do is add them up. And keep this on your page, but I'm going to erase it to create a little space here on mine, okay? Now you know how we got that, because each square is 2 1/4 inches, okay? So now we're just going to add. And I'm going to add the whole numbers first. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sixteenths. Oops. So my answer, and I can cut that down. Remember how to do that? If I divide both by 4, that would be 3, and this would be 4, right? 16 divided by 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now my new answer is 60 3/4 inches squared. Okay, that was the first way. Now, let's try another way, and I'm going to change colors. And I've got 4 on this side and 3 on this side. So 4, I'm sorry, I just did that wrong. I've got 3 and 4, okay? So let's see. But each of these is 2 1/4, so it's going to be 4 times 2 1/4. And then each of them on this side is also 2 1/4, so that's going to be 3 times 2 1/4. Let's multiply those together, because length times width, right? This is still the length and that's still the width. Let's multiply those together and see if that works. 4 times 2 1/4 times 3 times 2 1/4. Okay, so where did I get all these numbers? 2 1/4 is the side of each of these squares, remember? And there's 4 squares on this side, so there's 4 times 2 1/4, and there's 3 squares on this side, so 3 times 2 1/4. Now I have to do my math, okay. 4 times 2, and then 4 times 1/4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1/4 is 4/4. Okay. And I'm still multiplying on the in between the parentheses. Now 3 times 2 and then 3 times 1/4, that's the distributive property, right? 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 1/4 is 3/4. Okay, now, and I'm going to roll into this next side. 8 plus 4/4 is just 9 times 6 3/4. Okay, lots of work here. 9 times 6 and then 9 times 3/4 would be, 9 times 6 is 54. And 9 times 3/4 would be 27/4. And I want to simplify that improper fraction. 4 goes into 27. How many times? 6 times? So 54 plus 6 plus 3/4. Okay? And that would be 60 3/4. Is that the same thing we got up here? 60 3/4? Yes, I can't forget my inches squared. Okay, so that was the second way to do it. I don't know which way you like best. There's more ways than that even. Those are just 2 ways I'm showing you right now. Okay, as long as we explain our thinking through our work. So I showed all my work. And remember, I had more work here for the blue, but I erased it to create more space. And now I'm going to have to erase this red. Okay, but the answer is 60 3/4 inches squared. Okay. And sometimes when it says explain your thinking, showing all of your steps of math, showing all of the math steps, for me is an explanation. Okay. All right, a rectangle has a perimeter of 35.5 feet. Okay, you remember perimeter is length plus width plus width. You remember that, right? Length, length, width, width. Perimeter is just what's the space going around if we were making a fence around it. If the length is 12, okay, they just filled that in for us. So I'm going to switch to green, I think. They just told us this length is 12, this length is 12. What is the area of the rectangle? Well, we still don't know. This is 12. We still don't know what this side is, do we? Okay, so it's going to be 24. And we don't even know the areas. We're not there yet. Okay, first we just need to figure out what the width is. Plus, and they are 2W, so I'm going to just say 2 times W, okay? Or 2W. Now, 35.5 equals 24 plus 2 times W. What did I say about this equal sign? Whatever you do to the left, you have to do to the right. Well, how could I get this 24 off this side? How do you think? I'm going to subtract another 25 from both sides, okay? So 35.5 minus 24 equals 24 plus 2 times W minus 24, okay? So what happens here? On this side, I'm going to switch colors again. I'm sorry, my writing is kind of getting a little crooked. This 24 and this 24 cancel each other out, don't they? 24 minus 24. And I'm left with just 2 times W. And on this side, I have now 35 minus 24 would be 11 and a half. Okay, all right, now we're getting somewhere. So I know that my width plus my width equal 11 and a half because that's all I have left. Now, I'm going to show you a really cool trick, and I'm going to try and straighten out my numbers. Holy cow. Okay, 2 times W. What happens if I divide the right side by 2 and the left side by 2? What happens? Well, This 2 and this 2 cancel each other out, and all I'm left with is W. And on this side, I have 11.5 divided by 2, right? 11.5 divided by 2. Oh, is this new for you? This has got to be completely new for you. But this is exciting. This is where math gets really fun. Okay, now 11.5. I'm going to make a little tape diagram. This makes 11.5. I'm going to cut it in half. What am I going to have on this side? Well, you know what? I'm not even going to cut it in half. I'm going to put the half here. And I'm going to cut the middle in half. So what is 11 cut in half? If I cut that in half, 11.5, I have 5.5 and 5.5. Okay? So 5.5 plus 5.5 plus a half equals 11, right? So if I want to figure out what half of this would be, I now know that this is half of that, so 5.5. But I still have to cut this in half too. So what's half of 1/4? Well, 1/2 divided by 2, okay, is 1/4. And that would make this right here 5. And this is 1/2. So, gosh, I don't know what's going on with my writing today. 2/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. You see how we got there? 5.5 divided by 2 equals W. Well, 5.5 divided by 2 equals 5 3/4. So W equals 5 3/4. So I can erase this. 5 3/4. And erase this. And put 5 3/4. Woo! Now I have the length and the width. Okay, so I've got my length and my width, and I know that all of those things added together equal my perimeter, because that's the only thing they gave me, the perimeter and one length. So let me just double check my work. 12 plus 12 plus 5 3/4 plus 5 3/4 would equal 24 plus 5 and 5 is 10, which would be 34. And then 6/4, which equals 35 2/4, which equals 35 1/2. Okay, so I just checked my work, and I know that my width is in fact 5 3/4. Now, how do I find the area? Area equals length times width. So I can multiply 12 times 5 3/4. Okay? Now, if you want to multiply it, yes, but I'm going to show you here with our tiles. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, too many. Okay. Now we're going to pretend that those are uniform. They are meaning all the same. They're not. I am fully aware of that, but that's because my drawing skills aren't that great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3/4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3/4. And then here I've got 12, and I did that into 1, 1, 1. So now all I have to do is count my dots. 1, 2, 3. Let's use a different color, I think. Ah! Is there an undo button? Will it give it back to us? Nope. Okay, I'll just draw it again. Okay, let's see. Let's try to use a bright pink here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Okay, 60. Now each of these is 3/4. Okay, so 3/4, and I know there's 12 of them, so 3/4 times 12 equals 36 over 4, which equals 9, which means 6 plus 9 equals 69 feet squared. Okay, and let's just double check our work here, which is, I didn't have to do all those little dots. You guys know how to do that. Oops. That should be a plus sign, not a multiply sign. All my words are a little bit sideways today. A little weird. Okay, feet squared. Whew. Draw a rectangle has a perimeter of 35.5 feet. Okay, 35.5 feet. The length is 12. We had to figure out the width. They didn't even give us the width. We had to figure it out. And then we could multiply length times width. Now, if you're getting lazy and you're like, ugh, well, it already told us the perimeter is 35.5, so we're just going to multiply that by 12 or some weird thing, you're going to get the wrong answer. You have to go through all the steps to find the area. Okay, took a little bit longer, but we got there, and I showed you a couple different ways to find these things. So, your lesson 10 homework, it's even given you some information already, okay? So you can just, and for C, it's given you the units. You're gonna have to draw your own, okay? And D as well. And then it's got 2 story problems for you, okay? So that's exactly what we just did in the problem set. I think you can handle it. And your exit ticket today, they've drawn in the dimensions for you. You need to fill in the tiles and fill in the spaces here. Okay. Excellent. I hope you have a good rest of your day.